Jake and Ethan, inseparable cousins from Texas, grew up in the middle of the vast prairie where every day was an adventure. But one hot summer, their bond is tested as secret feelings, unexpected revelations, and a dangerous family secret threaten everything they've ever known. Will their friendship survive the truth? The sun blazed over the endless sprawl of West Texas, turning the prairie grass into a sea of gold that stretched as far as the eye could see. For Jake and Ethan, cousins born just a year apart, this rugged slice of the Lone Star State was their kingdom. Their grandpa's ranch, a weathered sprawl of barns and barbed wire, sat smack in the middle of nowhere, perfect for two boys who lived for adventure. Every summer, as soon as school let out, they'd pile into the back of Uncle Ray's dusty pickup, tires kicking up red dirt, and head straight for freedom. Jake was the louder one, always tearing ahead with a grin that could charm a rattlesnake. At 10, he'd already mastered the art of skidding his bike into a perfect drift, leaving a cloud of dust in his wake. Ethan, quieter and a year younger, followed like a shadow, steady, watchful, but just as wild in his own way. They'd race across the cracked earth, tires humming, until they hit the pond at the edge of the property. There they'd ditch the bikes, grab their fishing poles, and spend hours pulling bass from the murky water, laughing as the fish flopped in the bucket between them. "Bet I catch more than you today," Jake would taunt, tossing his line with a flick of his wrist. Ethan would just smirk, baiting his hooks slow and careful, knowing half the time he'd win without saying a word. Their family watched from the porch, sipping sweet tea and chuckling. "Those two ain't just cousins," Aunt Lila would say, fanning herself with a magazine. "They're thick as brothers, born with the same fire in their veins." Nights were the best. After a day of chasing each other through the tall grass or climbing the rickety windmill that creaked in the breeze, they'd collapse under the big oak by the house. Lying on their backs, sweaty and breathless, they'd stare up at the Texas sky, black as ink and studded with stars brighter than Christmas lights. "One day, I'm gonna be a quarterback," Jake would declare, arms flung wide like he was already on the field. "State champ, pro scouts, the works." Ethan, picking at a blade of grass, would nod. "And I'll build stuff. Bridges, maybe. Big ones." They'd dream out loud, voices carrying over the chirp of crickets, until the screen door squeaked and Grandpa hollered, "Y'all get in here 'fore the skeeters eat you alive!" But it wasn't all wide-open days and starry nights. One scorching afternoon, while rummaging in the old barn for a spare bike chain, Ethan's hand brushed something odd, a rusty metal box shoved behind a stack of hay bales. Curiosity got the better of him. He pried it open, revealing a pile of yellowed envelopes tied with twine. The handwriting was spidery, faded, but he caught a few words: land deal, keep quiet. A chill ran down his spine, sharp enough to cut through the summer heat. He stuffed the box back, heart pounding, but the question stuck like burrs. What was this? Why was it hidden? That night, under the oak, he didn't mention it. Jake was busy tossing pebbles into the dark, bragging about how he'd outrun Ethan earlier. "You're getting slow, man," he teased, elbowing him. Ethan forced a laugh, but his eyes kept drifting to the barn, its silhouette looming against the moonlit prairie. Something felt off, something big. He didn't know it yet, but those letters were the first crack in the perfect world they built, a whisper of a secret that would test everything they thought they knew about family, loyalty, and each other. As the stars winked overhead, Ethan made a silent promise: he'd figure it out. Alone, if he had to. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was coming, it'd drag Jake in too, whether he liked it or not. The West Texas sun didn't mess around by the time Jake and Ethan hit high school. It baked the prairie into a brittle crust, and the boys, now 16 and 17, weren't the same kids who'd race bikes and fish till dusk. Life had stretched them out, pulling them in directions neither saw coming. Jake swaggered into junior year as the varsity quarterback, 6 feet of confidence with a grin that lit up the locker room. He was the guy who could sling a Hail Mary pass and still have half the cheer squad giggling at his jokes by lunch. Ethan, a senior now, stayed in the background, lanky, quiet, nose buried in a book or sketching bridge designs in a beat-up notebook. They were still cousins, still tight, but the gap between them was growing, subtle as a hairline fracture. Summers on Grandpa's ranch were their lifeline, the one place where the world still made sense. That July, The air was thick with heat and the buzz of cicadas when they rolled up in Jake's hand-me-down F-150, windows down, country radio blaring. The first few days felt like old times, fixing fences, sneaking Lone Stars from the fridge, and horsing around by the pond. But something hung heavy, unspoken. Ethan couldn't shake the memory of those letters he'd found years back. He hadn't told Jake, didn't know how. And Jake? He was too busy soaking up the golden boy glow to notice Ethan's sidelong glances. One evening, they sprawled out on the rickety dock by the pond, the sun dipping low and painting the water orange. Jake chucked a rock, watching it skip 3 times. "Man, I'm gonna kill it this season," he said, flexing like he was already dodging tacklers. "Coach says scouts might show up." Ethan nodded, picking at a splinter in the wood. "That's big," he mumbled, but his mind was elsewhere, on the way Jake's arm brushed his when he leaned back, on the weird jolt it sent through him. It wasn't new, this feeling, but it was louder now, harder to ignore. "You're quiet lately," Jake said, turning to him, eyes sharp like he could see right through Ethan's skull. "What's up?" Ethan shrugged, staring at the ripples. "Just thinking, Dot." Jake nudged him, shoulder to shoulder, the way he always did. "About what?" Ethan's throat tightened. "How do you say it?" That every time Jake laughed too loud or slung an arm around him, it twisted something deep in his chest? "Stuff," he muttered, lame as it sounded. Jake grinned, all teeth and mischief. "You overthink everything, dude. Chill." But Ethan couldn't chill. Not when they sat that close, not when the air felt charged like a storm rolling in. He was about to brush it off when a shout cut through the dusk. Grandpa, stomping down from the house, his voice like gravel. "Y'all stay the hell away from that barn!" His finger jabbed toward the sagging structure, eyes wild. "I mean it!" Then he turned and stormed off, leaving dust and silence in his wake. Jake raised an eyebrow. "What's his deal?" Ethan didn't answer, but his pulse kicked up. The barn. The letters. It wasn't random. Later, under the hum of the ceiling fan in their shared room, Ethan lay awake, staring at the cracked plaster. Jake was sprawled across the other bed, snoring soft and steady, oblivious. Ethan's mind raced. What was Grandpa hiding? And why did it feel tied to this thing, this pull, he couldn't name? He glanced at Jake, moonlight tracing the curve of his jaw, and his stomach flipped. It wasn't just the secret eating at him anymore. It was Jake, always Jake, and the way he made everything louder, brighter, scarier. By morning, Ethan knew he couldn't sit on it forever. The barn called to him, a dare he couldn't dodge. Whatever was in there, it was the key, to Grandpa's outburst, to the family, maybe even to the mess in his head. He just didn't know if he was ready for what he'd find, or if Jake would still be by his side when the truth came crashing down. The Texas heat pressed down like a heavy hand that July night, the kind of sticky warmth that made even the crickets sound tired. Ethan couldn't sleep. The barn loomed in his mind, its shadows stretching across every thought since Grandpa's outburst. Jake snored across the room, oblivious as ever, but Ethan's gut churned. Those letters, he'd seen them years ago, tucked away like a loaded gun. Now, at 17, he couldn't ignore the itch any longer. He had to know. Slipping on his boots, he crept out, the screen door creaking just enough to make him wince. The night was still, stars sharp overhead, and the barn stood like a sentinel against the prairie. Flashlight in hand, he pried open the rusty door and slipped inside. The air smelled of mildew and old hay. He found the box right where he'd left it, behind the bales, coated in dust. His fingers shook as he untied the twine, pulling out the first letter. The words hit like a punch. "Land's ours now. Paid off the clerk. Keep it quiet, folks won't take kindly." Another. "Sheriff's in on it. Burn this when you're done." Ethan's breath caught. His family, Grandpa, Uncle Ray, maybe even his dad, had stolen land from local farmers 20 years back. A dirty deal buried deep. He didn't hear Jake until the floorboards groaned. "What the hell you doing out here?" Jake's voice was groggy, his silhouette filling the doorway, hair mussed from sleep. Ethan froze, clutching the letters. "Go back to bed," he muttered, but Jake stepped closer, squinting in the flashlight's glow. "You're acting weird again." "What's that?" Ethan's jaw tightened. No dodging this. He shoved a letter at Jake. "Read it." Jake skimmed it, then laughed, short, sharp, disbelieving. "This some kind of prank?" Ethan's glare cut through the dark. "Does it look like a damn prank?" Jake read again, slower, and the grin faded. "No way. Grandpa wouldn't." He stopped, eyes darting to Ethan. "You're sayin' they screwed people over? Our family?" Ethan nodded, voice low. "That's what it says. They took land that wasn't theirs." The air turned electric, thick with something uglier than the heat. Jake tossed the letter down like it burned. "You're full of it. You're just mad 'cause I'm out there livin' and you're stuck sulkin'. Ethan's temper flared. "This ain't about you, Jake. It's about them lyin' to us." Jake stepped up, chest puffed. "Then why's it feel like you're blammin' me?" Words turned to shoves, Ethan's hands on Jake's shoulders, Jake pushing back. They stumbled into a bale, hay flying, fists clenched but not swinging. "Not yet." A shadow loomed, Grandpa, hobbling in, cane thumping. "Enough!" His roar stopped them cold. His face was a storm, eyes glinting in the dim light. "You found em, huh?" He didn't wait for an answer, sinking onto a crate with a groan. "Sit down, both of you. Time you heard it straight." Jake and Ethan exchanged a look, wary, pissed, but they sat, dust settling around them. Grandpa's voice rasped like sandpaper. 20 years ago, we were broke. Bank was gonna take the ranch. So yeah, we cut a deal, bought out some plots cheap, paid off a clerk to fudge the papers. Sheriff looked the other way for a cut. Kept us afloat." He stared at his hands, gnarled and spotted. "Ain't proud of it, but it's done." Ethan's stomach twisted. "You stole from people." Grandpa's head snapped up. "I saved this family. You think them farmers would a done different?" Jake leaned forward, voice tight. "Who else knows?" Grandpa sighed. "Your daddy, Ray, a few others. We swore to bury it." Ethan stood, pacing. "And what? We just pretend it's fine." Grandpa's eyes narrowed. "You want to dig it up, boy? Ruin us all?" Before Ethan could snap back, a crash echoed outside, wood splintering. Jake bolted to the door, Ethan behind him. In the moonlight, a busted fence post lay in the dirt, a pickup's taillights fading down the road. "Someone heard," Jake muttered, fists balled. Ethan's heart sank. The secret wasn't just theirs anymore. And whoever was out there wasn't playing games. The busted fence post lay in the dirt like a warning shot, glinting under the West Texas moon. Jake kicked it, swearing under his breath, while Ethan scanned the dark prairie, the hum of that pickup still echoing in his ears. "Whoever did this knows," Ethan said, voice tight. Jake spun on him, eyes blazing. "Yeah, 'cause you couldn't leave it alone, could ya?" Ethan bristled. "Don't pin this on me. It's their mess, Grandpa, Dad, all of them." Grandpa hobbled out of the barn, cane digging into the ground. "Quit your yappin'. We gotta figure this out 'fore it blows up." Back in the house, the kitchen felt like a war room. Grandpa slumped at the table, face carved with lines deeper than the cracks in the hardwood. Jake paced, fists clenched, while Ethan leaned against the counter, arms crossed. The letter sat between them, yellowed and damning. "We go to the cops," Jake said, stopping mid-step. "Tell them everything, land theft, payoffs, all of it. Clean slate." Ethan's laugh was bitter. "You think it's that easy? Sheriff's dirty too. This'll torch the family, lawsuits, jail, the ranch gone." Grandpa snorted. "Boy's right. You opened this can, ain't no closin' it. We kept quiet for a reason." Jake glared. "So we just sit here. Let some yahoo with the truck scare us into hushin' up." Ethan rubbed his temples. "I'm not sayin' that. But if we talk, everyone, Mom, Aunt Lila, us, pays for it." The room went quiet, the tick of the wall clock loud as a hammer. Jake's jaw worked like he was chewing nails. "I don't care. It's wrong, and I'm done playin' along." Before Ethan could argue, boots crunched outside. The screen door banged open, and a man stormed in, tall, grizzled, with a face like weathered leather. "You thievin' bastards," he growled, pointing a finger at Grandpa. "I knew it was you." Ethan recognized him, Hank Dawson, a local farmer, son of one of the families named in the letters. Grandpa stood, slow but steady. "Hank, you got no business here." Hank's eyes narrowed. No business? You stole my daddy's land, left us with nothing. I ought to burn this place down. Jake stepped up, chest out. Try it, old man. See what happens. Ethan grabbed his arm, yanking him back. Cool it, Jake. Hank smirked, cold and mean. Heard you boys squabbling from the road. Figured I'd listen in. Now I know for sure, and I ain't the only one who's gonna hear it. He turned to leave, but Jake lunged, shoving him against the wall. You're not walking out of here with that. Hank shoved back, hard, and Ethan wedged between them, heart pounding. Stop it, both of you! Hank dusted himself off, glaring. You got till tomorrow night to come clean, or I take this to town, papers, proof, every damn thing I've dug up. And if that don't work, I'll make sure you feel it. He stormed out, truck roaring to life as he peeled away. The kitchen went dead silent, save for Grandpa's ragged breathing. Jake kicked a chair, sending it skidding. Great. Now what? Ethan sank into a seat, head in his hands. He's got us pinned. We either fess up or wait for him to light the match. Grandpa's voice cut through, low and hard. I'll talk to him. Buy us time. But you two, figure out where you stand. This ain't just my fight no more. He limped off, leaving Jake and Ethan staring at each other across the table. I'm not letting this slide, Jake said, voice steady. We fix it, legal, right, whatever it takes. Ethan's throat burned. And if it costs us everything? The ranch, our folks, us? Jake's eyes softened, just for a second. Then we deal. But I need you with me, Ethan. Like always. Ethan looked away, out the window where the prairie stretched dark and endless. He wanted to say yes, God, he did, but the weight of it all crushed him. Family or truth? Jake or the fallout? He'd spent years following Jake's lead, trusting that bond to hold. Now it felt like a rope fraying in his hands. I don't know, he whispered. Jake's face hardened. Then figure it out fast. 'Cause tomorrow, we're out of time. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the panes. Ethan felt it in his bones. Whatever came next, it'd break something. He just didn't know what. The West Texas dawn broke slow and gray, clouds smudging the horizon like a bruise. Ethan hadn't slept, his mind a tangle of Hank's threat, Jake's fire, and the letters that had cracked their world open. He found Jake on the porch, coffee in hand, staring at the busted fence Hank had smashed the night before. We're doing it, Jake said without looking up. Cops, courthouse, whatever. Today. Ethan's stomach nodded. And Grandpa? Mom? You ready to watch 'em lose it all? Jake's jaw tightened. I'm ready to sleep at night. They didn't have time to argue. Grandpa shuffled out, cane tapping, eyes sunken but sharp. Hank called. Gave us till noon to meet him, or he's going public. Ethan's pulse spiked. What's the play? Grandpa sighed, heavy and worn. I'll talk to him. But you boys gotta decide, back me up or bury me. Jake stood, tossing his mug in the sink. We're not burying nobody. We're fixing this. Ethan wanted to protest, but Jake's look, fierce, pleading, pinned him. You in or out, Ethan? He swallowed hard. In. The plan came fast. Jake dug through the letters, piecing together names and dates, while Ethan called Aunt Lila's friend at the county clerk's office, someone clean, outside the old sheriff's reach. Grandpa agreed to testify, his voice gravelly but firm. I'll take the hit. Just keep the ranch. By 10, they were in Jake's F-150, roaring toward town, the letters in a manila envelope between them. Ethan gripped the door handle, nerves buzzing. If this goes south. Jake cut him off. It won't. We're doing right. Hank was waiting at the diner on Main Street, arms crossed, a stack of photocopied deeds beside him. Well? He growled as they slid into the booth. Grandpa sat, hands folded. It's true. I rigged the deal, me, Ray, the old sheriff. I'll swear to it in court. Land's yours, legal and square. Hank's eyes narrowed, suspicious. Why now? Jake leaned in. 'Cause we're done hidin'. But you burn us down, you're huntin' folks who didn't know, our moms, our kin. Let's do this right. Ethan nodded, heart pounding. Court's the way. No torches. Hank chewed on it, staring at the table. Finally, he slid the deeds back. I'll hold off, if you deliver. One slip, and I'm done waitin'. They shook on it, rough and grudging, then filed out. At the courthouse, Grandpa's confession was quick: dates, payoffs, names. The clerk logged it, promising a hearing. Word spread fast. By afternoon, the stolen plots were flagged for return. Hank got his daddy's land, and the ranch stayed intact, barely. No jail time, just fines they'd scrape to pay. That night, the air cooled as the sun sank, painting the pond gold. Jake and Ethan ditched the truck and walked to the dock, boots crunching gravel. They sat, legs dangling, silent for a stretch. You were right, Ethan said, voice low. Had to face it. Jake chucked a rock into the water, watching it skip. Took both of us. I was pissed, but I needed you calling me out. Ethan's chest loosened, a weight lifting. Thought I'd lose you over this. Jake turned, eyes steady. Lose me? Man, you're stuck with me. Brothers don't ditch. Ethan's throat burned, not from fear this time, but something warmer. He'd spent weeks wrestling with what Jake meant to him: friend, family, anchor. It wasn't some big mystery, it was simple, solid. Yeah, he said, managing a grin. Guess I am. They stayed there as dusk settled, the prairies stretching wide and quiet. No secrets left to fester, no threats hanging over them. The next day, they'd head back: school, football, bridges to sketch. But for now, they grabbed the old poles and cast lines into the pond, like they were kids again. Jake hooked a bass first, whooping loud enough to scare the birds. Ethan laughed, real and free, and for once, the future didn't feel like a fight. As the truck rumbled home under a star-streaked sky, Jake cranked the radio, some twangy tune filling the cab. Ethan leaned back, watching the road unwind. They'd lost plenty: trust, innocence, a clean name, but they'd gained something too. Truth. Each other. And that, he figured, was worth it.